Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am talking about Ghost in the Shell 2017. There are major spoilers in the commentary I'm about to say. So today I'm going to be talking about Kuze specifically. So Kuze was an absolutely fascinating character in this movie. Just absolutely fascinating. So one thing that I think is really interesting is there are points in the film where Kuze is presented as a villain. He's literally a dark cloaked, villain type in the film. But I don't think I'm not sure Kuze is actually a villain. So, when it comes to villains and heroes in the film, I definitely think Mira is a hero in the film. And the villain in the film is Cutter and Ule. Also Aramaki, I would say he is a hero. And I would say Batu is a hero as well. But But Ule and Cutter are definitely villains, and Kuze, he is definitely in between. I'm really not sure where he lands, but one of the things that's really interesting is the thing that was absolutely fascinating about Kuze is his juxtaposition to Major Mira Killian. So, or Motoko Kusanagi, her actual name, her true name, right? So, one of the things that's really interesting about Kuze is, actually, let's back up. So, Mira, her brain is in a robot body, okay? But Kuze is building a network, and that network is fascinating. So, his network is human minds uploaded into the internet, okay? So that's two distinct states of humanity that are being shown for enhanced humans, right? It's really, really fascinating, and it's awesome that this is in the film because it really lets you explore these two different states for humanity. Kuze was such an amazing character. By the way, Michael Pitt did an amazing job acting as Kuze, and I think he really delivered with that role. So let's talk about Kuze's network, right? So one, I think it's very important to understand that there's a point in the film where Kuze says to Mira, "Why don't you join my network?" He uses the term "my network." I think that's really critical to understand. That is Kuze's network, okay? There is an amazing scene in the film where Mira goes into Kuze's lair, and that's the best word for it. So at first she encounters the three stages of people within Kuze's network. She encounters what I would say they are is like the initiate, the acolyte, and the disciple. Okay? So initiates, she meets in the outer, when she just first enters Kuze's lair, which is this dark underground space. It looks like a mix between like a garage, a car garage, and a warehouse. And it, no windows, dark, right? And so you go in, and initially she sees these initiates, right? And by the way, the movie does not use these terms. These are my terms because I think it's a good way to understand the journey of these people who are going into Kuze's network, right? So the initiates are people who are on the outside, and they're connected to the net, and they have gear that looks very much like what our VR today, what our virtual reality gear looks like today. And they're seated, on the floor, and it looks like, they're just doing some internet tasks together. They're very close. They don't have any robes on. They have shorts, right? Short type material around their waists. And you can see all these tattoos. They've been tattooed, right? And so these are true believers, right? But they're just coming in. They're just being brought into the circle of Kuze's network, right? And these guys are probably doing the administrative tasks of dealing with the acolyte and the disciple fallout. And so let's move on. So we see these initiates, and so Mira passes them, and I think she even talks to one or two of them, right? And you can talk to one or two of them, right? Then, now here's the interesting thing. We see the disciple next, okay? So we see initiate, disciple, and then acolyte, okay? I'm going to talk about the acolyte, and then I'm going to return to the disciple, okay? So she passes the disciples, and she goes to the acolytes, right? And we go into this powerful visual scene within the movie where we are looking at a circle of like 30 or 50 human beings who are completely jacked into the internet, and they have, you know, things that are covering their faces. They're in ceremonial robes, which are all the same. And the reason why is they're going to be joining, you know, Kuze's network, right? And I think that they're going into a uniform consciousness, right? They are leaving their human bodies behind, and they're joining Kuze's network. And when Mira looks at them, there are these thick black cables that are going from their necks, the back of their necks, like they're literally right from their spinal cords, straight up, you know, and actually from their, you know, they're essentially brain tapped, you know, at this point. And their consciousness are being uploaded, and she can see this as red data that is translucently going up through these black cables. Powerful imagery, okay? And these are your acolytes. These are people who are being uploaded right now, taking their consciousness, leaving their human body, and which the film is considering shells, right? And then going up into the network, okay? Let's go back to the disciples. Between the time where Mira sees an initiate and then goes to the acolytes, we see the disciples. Over on like the right, we look into this one dark room, and there are human bodies in bags, clear, translucent bags, covered, just saturated in their own filth, right? Because they're dead. These are dead bodies, right? And the reason why is the consciousness has been removed from these bodies, and, you know, so the consciousness has been removed from the bodies, and now you're just looking at the empty husk of a human being, their body, right? And this is all Kuze. This is all Kuze's network. Incredibly dark, right? And I think it's correctly portrayed, right? You know, there's this idea of peak rapture. You know, Christians believe in a rapture where you're brought up into heaven by your God, by, you know, Jesus Christ. This is, you know, an atheist rapture where you're brought up into the net. And, you know, and just seeing how those bodies were processed, it blew my mind. Kuze is an incredibly compelling character. Really, really interesting. Take care.